Are you tired of being hassled by realtors asking you, are you pre-qualified? Are you pre-approved? We needed this before we go show you properties. Well, I know it's a big hassle, and I'm Dustin over here at Mantle Realty, and I'm going to tell you a couple reasons why you might want to do it anyways for you and not the agent. First off, a lot of people use pre-approval and pre-qualified interchangeable and thinking that they're the exact same thing. Newsflash, they're not. So what's the difference in a pre-approval and a pre-qualification letter? It all has to do about you and you entering in your information. A pre-qualification is actually just you filling out a form and saying, this is how much money I make, this is how long I've lived here, this is all the debt that I have, here's all my income, here's what's my savings account, all that fun stuff. All these numbers are made by you and put into a system, and they're going to come back and read your credit score and say, okay, based off of all the information that you gave me, you're going to be pre-qualified for this loan. Now, the big difference in a pre-approval means that you've actually gave them documentation to back up this information. So you've gave them bank statements, tax returns, check stubs, verification of your employment, all those fun things to actually get you a pre-approval. So whenever we're looking at the different types of letters as a realtor, there is a big difference. If you say I'm pre-qualified, that just means that you put some numbers in there. It could be quite a bit off. A lot of times we see people who say they work 40 hours a week for a job. Instead, they actually work 32, 36, something like that. And if you're really close to being able to be approved for a loan, and this is the big difference, guess what? You might not be able to get that loan. So a great reason to go ahead and get pre-approval from a lender is just this. You know exactly what you can afford and how much your mortgage payments are going to be based off of the time that you put in that application. Another reason to be pre-approved is to find out what blemishes you might have on your application. And yeah, we see people who think that they have perfect credit, perfect income, everything else, and they have something that is stuck with them. Anything from a lien on a property or bad credit due to a late payment that they totally forgot about, or maybe it's something that's completely incorrect on your credit report. These are all things that are going to affect your mortgage, interest rate, things like that. So sometimes we tell our clients, hey, go ahead and see if you can get pre-approved and see what you need to do to work on your loan application, whether it's pay off a couple loans or work on your credit score. Sometimes we have to open up bank accounts and credit cards to boost their scores a little bit more. So this would give you a better timeline of whenever you're ready to buy versus going under contract, then getting a pre-approval and maybe losing some of that earnest money, deposit money, due diligence money, those kinds of things. Other reasons why you might want to go ahead and be pre-approved before looking at properties is you know your exact mortgage payments that are going to be. How do you know that, you ask? Well, go to your lender and tell them, hey, this is the property that I'm looking at. And they're going to give you a rough estimate of your insurance. They're going to know the taxes and they're going to know what your mortgage is actually going to be. So you can figure out if that's something that you are comfortable with as a whole before you actually start looking at properties. Because yes, even though that you can be pre-approved for a higher amount of a loan, it might not be a mortgage payment that you are interested in paying as a whole. As us real estate agents, we don't want you to be house broke and hate us forever because you're just stuck there and you can't do anything fun. We want to see you be happy with the property that you're purchasing from the day you buy to the day that you sell it. Another great reason why to go ahead and get pre-approved is because you can shop around during this time. So let's just say that you were under that assumption of I'm going to get pre-approved after I find the perfect property. Well, guess what? Now your feet are to the fire. You're not really going to be able to shop around for lender deals and things like that to see who can do a little bit better off of your interest rate. Here's a bonus tip whenever you're looking at different loans and things like that. You want to ask them what the APR is. And what's the APR, you might ask? Well, that's actually all the fees that are going to be combined in together, and that's what your mortgage payment's going to be based off of. Your interest rate is only part of this equation, where you might have extra closing cost fees tied up into it or buying down an interest rate, things like that. So a lot of times a lender might be a little bit shady and say, oh, we've got you a better interest rate. but really and truly, it's a better interest rate because you're paying for it throughout the loan process as a whole. These are a lot of reasons why to do that. And it doesn't affect your credit within those first 30-day windows. You filling out those applications, it doesn't matter where you go. Just keep on filling them out. And you can go everywhere from, say, a Loan Depot, Rocket Mortgage to your local lenders and vendors and things like that. A big suggestion I would have whenever you're getting pre-approved is ask your agent. Trust your agent. We don't get kickbacks. They're not allowed in the state of North Carolina. But the reason why we have preferred vendors and lenders and attorneys and all those fun things is because they make the transaction so much smoother and it makes you a happier customer. Why else should you be pre-approved before you actually go look at properties? A lot of times we go and find the perfect property for you. Let's just say it's on the weekends. Well, you've told us that, hey, I'll get pre-approved whenever I actually find the perfect property. Well, guess what? That perfect property might be the perfect property for a bunch of other people. So if you don't have that pre-approval letter and we go to write up an offer, a seller's not going to really take you very serious if they don't have that approval letter with them. We also want to look at where the letter's coming from because as us as agents, we know that certain lenders and vendors are much easier to deal with, or some of the lenders, like the online guys, might be just throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks. We prefer to see something strong and local versus say a Rocket Mortgage or a Loan Depot loan pre-approval. That being said, it makes your offer way more serious whenever you have that pre-approval ready, whenever you are writing up on that property. Because as agents, we don't want you to miss out on not getting that pre-approval because you're wanting to write up that offer after hours and your lender didn't get to you in time. Another reason why we want you to be pre-approved before we show you a property is that we want to know what type of loan you are actually going to get. You mean, what does that mean? Well, every loan has different kinds of conditions on them, whether it's going to be the actual condition of the property. Say a FHA home is going to require something to have a stove inside of it, where a USDA eligible home has to be in a certain location and still has to meet those condition requirements. So if we are only looking for properties with certain kinds of loan types accepted, we need to make sure that we're not showing you properties that aren't going to be fitting those needs. So if you're looking for something that doesn't fit that, we just wasted your time and energy, and you're not going to be happy with the process either. So that's the reason why we want to know the loan type whenever you're being pre-approved too. Now, a lot of agents won't tell you the reason why they want you pre-approved or pre-qualified, so we just go ahead and assume as the public of they don't want to show us a property because they don't think that we can be a pre-approved or pre-qualified. That's not really the reason, at least not for a lot of us out here. The real reason is, hey, we don't want to show you properties that aren't in your price range. So let's go with the bad example of it of maybe you're looking at properties that you think that you can afford for $500,000, and then you actually go and get qualified for a loan and find out that you're only pre-approved for $350,000. Well, guess what? As an agent, I just showed you properties that are well above your price point, and it's going to be like there's nothing else out there that's going to compare to those very first properties that we showed you. It would be a lot like actually test driving a bunch of exotic cars and then realizing, oh, I can't afford this. I got to go get a Honda Civic. Then you're going to be like me, driving around a Honda Civic. It can also go on the opposite end that we see all the time. We see people who don't think that they're approved for very much, if anything at all. And really and truly, their rent payment is so high that they can actually afford way more property than what they originally thought. And we might be wasting our time and energy showing you a $250,000, $300,000 house, and you can actually afford a $400,000, $500,000 house, which is in your budget. Us agents out here, we shouldn't be showing you properties outside of your budget one way or another and getting your hopes up or just wasting your time and energy as a whole. So all in all, getting pre-approved before you actually look at properties, in the grand scheme of things, just sets the expectations up for everybody. You're going to know how much down payment money that you're going to be bringing, what your monthly payments are going to be. We're going to know what type of property that you can afford and the condition that it needs to be in, or even the location for some different loan types. So this is a reason why it is great to go ahead and get pre-approved for you as the buyer and not so much us as the agent. Let me know if you have any more questions or any other videos that we can do for you to explain some of the real estate process. Thanks for watching.